Okay, so you guys know my obsession with making like regal warlocks or regal titans. I just love the whole entire like regal aesthetic whenever it comes to Destiny 2 fashion. So when I first saw the Hunter 2021 Solstice armor, I knew two things. One, of course I needed to make a regal Hunter for this year, and two, I definitely did not want to use that chest plate because it is hideous. And if you don't main Hunter or you just want to see what I did with the other Solstice armor sets, go ahead and click on the little annotations popping up in the top right corner right now to check out the past two videos that I made on them. And if you need help with your own Solstice build, don't forget that I do have a Discord server where you can go ahead and post your Guardian and ask for some fashion help. Or if you need any help on your real life fashion game, go ahead and check out our channel sponsor Extra Wallets. We will be talking more about them at the end of the video. And with all of that out of the way, and after you've already hit that subscribe button, let's go ahead and check out my Hunter for this year. So here's my Hunter. This is what I ended up coming up with for this year's Solstice event. Like I said, she is very regal, and I really like the fact that the Oathkeepers match up perfectly with the Wishender bow. I mean, the Wishender has this like iridescent white shader on it, and it looks really good with the whole entire set. The Dawning Tranquility also brings out that like almost iridescent white color on all of the metal bits on the armor. Not to mention that the Wishender does have like little almost like goldish bronze bits in the sight and at the two ends of the bow, which just end up matching perfectly with the little gold pieces of trim that the whole entire set has. Now there are things that I could nitpick about this set, and we're gonna go ahead and go over those here in a second. So here is my armor. For all of the armor pieces except for my cloak, I decided to go with the Dawning Tranquility shader. Like I told you guys in the first Solstice video this year that I made, I really wanted to use this shader. I just kind of like stumbled upon it and it looked perfect with the new Solstice set, so I knew I had to use it, except for the cloak. And for the cloak, I decided to go with the Seven Sisters shader. That way it can add almost like a deep blue color to kind of match up with the Dawning Tranquility. I did try other shaders and nothing really ended up shading the cloak just right to match the rest of the set. So this is as close as I can get. So let's start off with the head. The head, I wasn't too sure if I was going to use or not. In that first Solstice video that I made, I didn't like it at first, but then I ended up applying the Midnight Smith shader to it on accident, and it ended up looking very menacing, almost like Venom-like, and I immediately liked it, and I was like, okay, now I see why this is good, I'm going to go ahead and use it. Now with me zoomed in like this, you can start seeing our first problem of the set. So this like gold trim that this Solstice 2020 cloak has, and you can't get rid of by the way, doesn't really match up with the goldish bronze colors that we have going on with the rest of the armor set. Now the helmet does match up very nicely with the Vest of the Great Hunt from the Last Wish raid as far as the like metallic gold goes, because you can see here in the main chest area up here, or the side of the chest, or on the ribcage area, we do have a lot of that same color, which is just perfect. And on the Oathkeepers, you can also see that the dragon scales on the Oathkeepers also take on that color. And here we can also see our next issue with trying to make a build around the Oathkeepers. This purple thing right here, it does not shade very well. It does kind of take in some of the tint of the shaders, but for the most part it does stay like a dark purple or dark blue color. So that's why I ended up going with something like Dawning Tranquility, because it did have a little bit of that purple in there. That way that purple emerald bit right there didn't really stick out like a sore thumb. The reason I ended up going with the Vest of the Great Hunt is I just like the knight aesthetic. I mean, knights and the whole entire regal theme you guys know I love, and I mean, what better chest to use other than this? I feel like using this chest is almost cheating because it looks so good with almost every single Hunter armor piece in the game. So for the legs, I decided to use the Solstice 2021 legs. They are absolutely amazing. They look very clean, and they just match the whole entire knight / regal aesthetic perfectly. Now, one thing that really annoys me about these legs though is this little like crotch flap. Like, why do we have that? It's just awkward and in the way. Not to mention, whenever you start throwing shaders onto these legs, the crotch flap kind of just takes on like those weird colors of the shaders, the ones that you don't really want on the set. And yeah, that ended up making things very hard, but the rest of the legs, they are just perfect. For the cloak, like I said, I am using the cloak from the Solstice 2020 event, and while I love the general shape of the cloak, I don't like the fact that this trim isn't shaderable. It would make this set a lot better if it was. But going over all of the cloaks that I had, I couldn't really find another cloak that fit well with this. Honestly, the only alternative that I can recommend to you would be just like the regular blue Solstice cloak, so the blue rarity one. I would use a different shader with it if you are going to end up using the blue rarity version of the cloak, because the Seven Sisters shader is just kind of everywhere and it's just a little bit too much, you know? You can honestly just throw on Dawning Tranquility onto this, and then that white starts to match all of the whites on like the metal pieces on the armor set. So yeah, I really liked how this set ended up. Like I said, I am obsessed with the whole entire like regal aesthetic, and I really haven't made a build with Oathkeepers. I know they're not really the best exotic, but when you use them just right, they look very good. And honestly, I kind of want to use Oathkeepers in like future builds. Not to mention, like I said, that the Oathkeepers kind of fit the whole entire story with the whole Wish Ender bow, and they actually do end up having a perk that helps you with bows. So everything just works out so well as far as the lore goes with these gloves, the Wish Ender bow matching the Dawning Tranquility shader. Everything just works perfectly, and that's why I love this build. Now let's start talking about armor alternatives, just in case you don't have all of the armor sets that I have. Keep in mind, I don't really play on my Hunter or my Warlock, so I really only have a limited amount of armor pieces. If you guys do find any different armor pieces that I could use, please leave a comment down below. So for the head, you have several options. You can kind of mix and match all of these Solstice armors out. The 2019 Solstice armors are a very good pick for this, as well as any of the new Monarchy helmets that kind of make you look like a knight. Basically, anything that makes you look like a knight will work for this. One of them that I ended up liking the most though was going to be the 2020 Solstice helmet. It does have a bunch of cracks on it, which I'm not too big of a fan of, but from far away you can't really notice those. Another one that isn't like knight-like that I still love is going to be the Wing Contender. It gives you like a no face type of look, and I don't know, I just like it. For the chest, you don't have too many options, but same kind of rules here. Any of the Solstice 2020 set will work out perfectly. Like, look at that, just perfect. So if you have that instead of this year's, or you just don't like the way that the Last Wish vest looks, this is another good alternative for it. Another one I really liked is one of the new Monarchy chest plates, which is a random drop now, so you don't have to worry about doing faction rallies. But yeah, I just like the general shape of it. It shows off the female hunter's curves a lot better, if you know what I mean. And yeah, it's a great pick in case you don't have any of the like raid sets or any of these Solstice sets. Now for the legs, as far as the armor that I have on, I only really found one good alternative without changing out the Dawning Tranquility shader, and that is the good old Righteous boots. They are very knight-like, and they do take that Dawning Tranquility shader very well. Look at all that nice purple going on there. And I just really like these legs. I use them a lot in my Hunter fashion. And we already talked about an alternative that we can use for the cloak, but another one that I really wanted to work, which I don't know, this might be a hit or miss for you guys, but the Coronation cloak also works out pretty well. My only gripe with it is that it's too wide here in the head area, which kind of makes it look awkward, but from every other angle, if you go and apply the Dawning Tranquility shader to it, it just looks very nice, and it almost looks like a queen trying to hide from everybody else. Maybe she's trying to get to the city or something, I don't know. I just like the way that the cloak looks. My only gripe with it is how big it is on the sides, but it's not a bad alternative if you don't have any of the other cloaks that I mentioned. And I actually almost forgot, but good alternatives in case you don't want to use the Oathkeepers, you can use the Sovereign grips, which end up looking pretty dang good. The only thing I don't really like about them is this weird reflective thing going on right here, but it's not too bad, and they still look very regal and very good. And the last alternative, you can also use the Solstice grips from the 2021 event. And of course, these are going to match perfectly considering that we have the Solstice 2021 legs and the helmet right there. We are using a lot of pieces from that set now, but it doesn't look too bad and it still fits the theme very well. And lastly, let's go over some shader alternatives in case you don't have the Dawning Tranquility shader or the Seven Sisters one. Of course, Callus Selected is going to work perfectly with this, but as you can see here, we start to see what I was talking about earlier with the crotch flap. It just takes on that like weird purple bit right there, and it kind of just gets in the way considering that that purple doesn't show up anywhere else on the set, except for maybe the Oathkeepers, but it's still a different shade of purple there. And of course, the discount Callus Selected shader will also work, the Grand Luster shader. It does add on a lot more black, which you guys might like, honestly. That purple does stay there. Like I said, it's kind of annoying, but the Grand Luster isn't a bad alternative, especially if you want to go with maybe a darker colored version of that Callus Selected. And also, Golden Trace looks pretty freaking slick on this armor set. The only issue again comes from the cloak. So if you're going to use Golden Trace, you're going to want to use a dark shader to kind of help hide all of those like lines that Golden Trace has. Personally, I like the Shrouded Stripe shader on this. You can't see any of the stripes, and it does add that same like charcoal gray color, so that would be the way to go with that. If you do end up going with Golden Trace, you are going to see the purple on the Oathkeepers pop out a lot more. That doesn't personally bother me, but it might bother some of you guys, so you guys let me know on that. Or just let me know any other shaders that you guys think look good with this in the comments down below. Alright everybody, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you enjoyed my whole entire series going over the Solstice 2021 armor sets on all of the Guardian classes. If you haven't yet seen all of those Solstice videos, go ahead and click on either the annotation above or the links down in the description below. And if you guys want to show off any armor sets that you've made previously, remember I do have a Discord server where you can go ahead and do that, or if you need any fashion help, you can also post your Guardian there and people will help you out. Don't forget, before you go ahead and leave a like on this video and hit that subscribe button. And if you want to step up your fashion game in real life, let's not forget that this channel is sponsored by Extra Wallets. If you guys want to help support the channel, go ahead and click on that first link down below to buy yourself a styling new wallet. And I've said this many times before, but my favorite part about these wallets is the fact that you can have a little button down at the bottom that like pops up all your cards, and you really feel cool doing that every single time that you go to pay. So if any of that sounds appealing to you, go ahead and click on that first link below to grab yourself an amazing new wallet. And for all of you guys still here, consider clicking on one of the videos that is popping up in the end card now. I will see you guys next video, and as always, stay beautiful.